We turn our attention to pressure gauges associated with regulators. A high-pressure gauge, also known as the cylinder gauge, is positioned nearest to the regulator's inlet connector. This gauge displays the pressure within the cylinder. A low-pressure gauge, also known as the working pressure gauge, is situated on the outlet side of the regulator. This gauge displays the pressure of the gas being delivered to the hoses and the torch. When a cylinder valve is opened, you will observe that the high-pressure gauge immediately indicates a reading as cylinder pressure enters the unit. A gauge is read by observing the position of the gauge needle in relation to the scale markings printed on the gauge face. Be aware that pressures may be marked in various pressure units, such as bars, kilopascals, or pounds per square inch. Some makes may offer dual scale graduations. In this example, pressures may be read in either kilopascals by observing the outer edge of the scale, or in pounds per square inch by observing the inner edge of the scale. Maximum pressure rating should always be clearly defined on the gauge, either with a thick red line on the outside of the scale, or by the start of a red zone on the gauge face. These readings should correspond to the maximum inlet and outlet pressures of the regulator, which we mentioned earlier. You will notice that the gauges provide scale readings beyond these maximum pressure ratings. For example, this oxygen cylinder gauge is suited for a maximum cylinder pressure of 200 bar. However, the scale is capable of reading over 300 bar. This extra pressure zone is known as the gauge reserve. It is also known as the danger zone, as if ever the needle moves into the scale, then something is very wrong. At this time, we must stress that should you ever notice the high-pressure gauge needle of an acetylene regulator moving into the danger zone, then a very serious situation is developing within the cylinder, known as acetylene decomposition. In simple terms, this may happen when, for some reason, the acetylene within the cylinder becomes unstable and begins to decompose, resulting in internal heating and a rise in pressure. This situation, although very rare, is extremely dangerous. Notify your supervisor or safety officer immediately in this event. Pressure gauges are precision instruments, and it is recommended that gauge protection guards be installed in order to protect your gauges from accidental impact in industrial environments.